It is the night of the first day, a day of national mourning, as President Daniel Arap Moi, the second president of the Republic of Kenya, passed on this morning. And with me this evening is a panel of 5. That is 3 who were insiders of the Moi administration that lasted 24 years, and 2 very, very sharp critics of the former president as well. And I want to start with the Honorable KOIGI WAMWERE. When I spoke to you in our previous assignment on Jomo Kenyatta, you told me that you were in prison when Jomo Kenyatta died and that you felt happy at his passing. I don't know what your feelings are this night. No, Daniel Arap Moi passed on this morning.
Yeah, but the reason why I was happy, although I wanted first of all to say congratulations for the composition of the panel, because these are the 2 sides of Kenya and they need to meet and have a conversation. I hope this is the beginning. The other thing I want to say before we go inside is that Mao Zedong once said that some people's deaths are as light as a feather, but others' death as heavy as a mountain. It looks like Moi is one of those people who are lucky to have a death as heavy as a mountain. Then, of course, we were told that Moi was very successful. He had a legacy of success. I actually doubt that, but then I think the DP has a right to his opinion as much as I have a right to mine. Now,
I really want to get to your feelings today, because you shared with me your feelings on the passing of Jomo Kenyatta in 1978, 22nd of August 1978. You told me how you felt then. Tell me how you feel today, the 4th of February 2020.
You see, the reason why I felt relieved at the death of Mzee Kenyatta was because we were in detention. And the only time we could get released was during a national day, when the president would express his magnanimity by letting free some detainees. We had been in detention for a whole 3 years, and there was no freedom coming. It's not that we wanted anybody to die so that we could be free, but we knew for sure that if a president passed away, not poisoned by us, but if he passed away, we would be given our freedom. Now, that is why when we heard that there was big transformation outside the prison walls, and that indeed the president was no more, and our freedom was guaranteed, we were entitled to celebrate. After all, who doesn't want to have his freedom?
Now, that was Jomo Kenyatta, yes.
That was Jomo Kenyatta.
Yes,
now,
Daniel Arap Moi.
We are talking about a Moi who is not in power, who has not, at least since 1992, he has not been responsible for my being. I have not been in prison since that time. And so I have no reason to feel that his demise will bring about my freedom. The only thing that I ask, now that he is not there, this could be a very important moment for us to be able to discuss as a nation Moi's legacy. Did he have a legacy? And was that legacy positive or not positive? And
we'll get into that.
So what I feel is, this is an opportunity which we could grab and make good use of, and that he can provide whether he likes it or not, because he has passed on. Before we pass on, we can discuss our fate together.
And that we shall try to do around the table, and that's why I want to go to Njeru Kadhangu, former member of parliament for Runyenjes. You also happen to be a former Kenya Air Force officer who paid the price. You were detained for about 2 weeks, and you were coming from detention before that. How do you feel today?
Well, first of all, let me start by saying that I am somebody's son, and I lost my father sometimes in the past. I felt very sad, and I want to place myself in those children's mind and heart, wherever they are now, because whatever Moi is to me and to this Kenya, he is the father of some group of children who must be mourning Sunday because of his departure. And I want to say that I pray for their comfort and strength, that God can give them fortitude to sustain themselves peacefully. First. Second is that I have known Daniel Toroitich Arap Moi for a long time myself, even longer than some of the people that really clapped for him and followed him everywhere. Because first of all, you know, I met him sometimes in 1972, and God knows, you know, I thought he was a very good man. One, because Moi has got 5 lives. People look at his last life, and the last life was despotic. But his first 4 lives, one was about formation from 1955 to 1966, formation into the political figure that we know him. And then the next one is Moi, the man who was really Tishwa Sana from 1966 to 1978, you know. And then from there, Moi takes over from 1979 to 1983, and that was trying to learn about Kenyatta's style, because he was going to follow his nyayos. And there is a story to tell there. And then Moi decided to crush them from 1984 to 1986. And from 1986, Moi became a very serious oppressor. It depends therefore, according to me, when were you with Moi? At what point did you enter? And which side? You know?
And your personal story, Honorable Kathangu, revolves around the 1982 attempted military coup.
No.
And you gave the several formations of the years of Moi, and it's perfectly arguable that that is accurate. And one of the things that has been said is the 1982 coup changed him to what you're calling despotic.
True, but I was not in the Air Force then. In fact, when Kenyatta is dying, like KOIGI is saying here, Kenyatta left me in prison, you know, 1978. And where I was with Mark Mwidaga, Martin Chikuku, I don't know, these fellows, Jean-Marie Seroni.
You remained in prison after our release.
I remained, and I came in 1980. So in 1982, it came fresh from prison, and everybody was saying Kenya Air Force is going to do it, you know, that evening. And because I'd come from the Air Force, everybody thought I am part of it. I was arrested. Yes.
That's a very important point you should make here. Were you a member of the Kenya Air Force at the time?
I was a member of the Kenya Air Force up to 4th of January 1976. 6 years, the coup came in.
You were not a member of the Kenya Air Force during the 1982?
No, but I was still arrested. I was arrested, put in Nyayo House, which was fresh then, and they discovered that Kathangu was not involved after all.
Right. Let me move to the people who served Moi, and they did so very, very closely. We have a former provincial commissioner, we have a former State House controller, and we have a former minister for Internal Affairs, those days it was called. And I want to start with Franklin Bett, because you served as a very, very close aide. I know this is the night we should remember President Moi, and you will do that even as you respond to questions on how he treated his critics, 2 of them who are in the House.
Thank you, Kaikai. I came to know Moi in 1976. We were students at the University of Nairobi. I hope Julius SUNKULI was with us. We went down to his farmhouse in Kabarak. From then on, he recruited me to work on his farm as a farmhand. Even when Jomo Kenyatta passed on, I was in that home. That's another story for another day. Then I continued my university. After the university, I joined, of course, public service. a couple of years after I had my stint in Inspectorate of State Corporations, which was then called, which is now Inspectorate of State Corporations now. Those days it was Inspectorate of Statutory Boards, ISB those days. I worked under Nyachai, under Kereini, and then later Nyachai. Now, all this time, I was just watching government. I was not inside what was going on, like you see Kadangui is saying all that, KOIGI is saying all that. I wasn't in the know when those things were going on. Then I was then called into State House as Deputy Comptroller. I want to make it Deputy Comptroller. Yes, not Controller. Comptroller.
To Abraham Kiptanui.
To Abraham Kiptanui.
Right.
My main job was to write reports. Those reports you would see Moi reciting when he was in public rallies out in the countryside. I prepare them. How many schools in this district, how many children, how many cows, how many chicken, all that stuff. I prepared all that for him to know every time we went to a location. If he's going to PC Kaguthi's area, I would do a provincial and the specific district he is visiting. So I concentrated on that in relations or in consultation with the Ministry of Interior, who were then supplying me with all that information. The other most important area I was involved in was preparing his speeches. So I coordinated speeches if it was something to do with the Ministry of Agriculture. I would then obtain from the Ministry of Agriculture the raw data, and then I would then put it into a speech, which would be read by Moi, say, in an ASK show or in somewhere else. Now, I must admit here again, when we are with Moi here, we are discussing these speeches, we are discussing these reports, and he was into the details of things. There is no time he would want to just pass an issue which is seen on a report. He was a man who was very critical into details.
And talk to us specifically to the issue of political detainees, because I think it's been raised by, it's a question that is raised by most of his critics, including Honorable KOIGI and Honorable Kathangu.
I think I came by those when they had already happened. So I found they had already been, I used to hear of KOIGI detained, Kathangu detained. So I wasn't already into State House.
Political detainees during your time at State House?
No new ones. I can say there were no new ones.
And certainly there were none.
I didn't face a lot of them.
Honorable Sunkuli's
Did you come
time
after 1979?
Yes.
So actually there were some.
You witnessed many, but you may not have been part of it.
Yes. You see, mine is just to do speeches. Mine is just to do all that. And again, to coordinate the affairs.
Right. I need us to
I was dealing with a man who was humble, every Sunday in church. So that was.
And we'll come to the personality of the late President Moi, but I would want to bring in the former internal security minister, on whose docket a lot of the blame was lying. You know, this was the office that would do some of these things when it comes to detention without trial.
Obviously, by the time I became minister, or even assistant minister, that was in 1992. We actually joined, I think, together with Honorable Njeru Kathangu. He was a part of the opposition, and we had a multi-party situation in Kenya at that time. But Moi, KOIGI has said that some people have a heavy death, but I would put it different and say that as we inter Moi, I don't think that we will bury him. He will take a long time to actually bury the name of Moi, because to me he was a man for all seasons.
Yeah, but he has to be buried.
When I'm talking about figuratively,
yes.
Well, he will be buried.
Yeah, but figuratively he will live forever.
He will last for
a long time.
And some people take very long to be buried. Like we haven't buried JF Kennedy up to now because we still refer to him. But Moi was a man for all seasons. When Kenya required somebody to succeed Kenyatta, he was available. When Kenya required a president to assert himself and bring stability and bring sense to Kenya, he was there. When Kenya required somebody to transform them from one party to two parties or more parties, he was there. And when Kenyans required a president to retire, he was there. I think it is always important to remember that Moi was actually a person who transformed himself according to the times that he lived in. And I don't think that we are rewriting history to say that the 80s are perhaps what we call his darkest moments, his low moments. And that is the part of history that his critics tend to hold. But before the 80s and after the 80s and up to today, Moi's other qualities are actually more pronounced than what is recorded as his weaknesses. I personally served as his assistant minister in the office of the president for 7 years. And later, together with PC KAGUTHI, I served as minister in charge of the public service. Then I served as minister responsible for internal security. And then I served as minister responsible for both securities at the same time. And that is
maybe somebody watching out there, Honorable SUNKULI, would look and say, what would be the justification of those who served him for the darkness of the 80s that you're describing?
But you know, look at, I said this before during the day in this same station, that when you write the history of a hero, you are not writing a history of an angel. And I think that it is just good to acknowledge that Moi was human. And it is okay. Let us have those who criticize him say these were his weaknesses. And we are not going to say those were not his weaknesses.
And actually, none is perfect.
But the sum total of it is he was a great man who will take very long to be buried. People today remember the standard president as Moi anywhere in East Africa.
Let me go to the experiences
before you go,
yes.
To pick from what he has addressed, to show you the astuteness of this man in politics. When it came to Section 2A of the Constitution, the whole country, and these two gentlemen were amongst the people who were agitating for Section 2A of the Constitution to be changed, to be scrapped and changed completely.
There you are.
He made up his mind.
You said that we are among the gentlemen who are campaigning for the insertion of Section 2 into the Constitution.
Those are your words.
What did you say?
For the scrapping of that thing.
The scrapping of the
Section 2A.
Section 2A.
Yeah, so that is much later in 1991.
Yes, 1991. But we'll come to that. Let him finish the point.
But you should look also at the beginning.
Yeah. Unless you are saying, KOIGI, you are not amongst the people who are instigating for that particular clause of the Constitution
because there is
to
a
be changed.
No, the instigation was there, 90s.
There was a time when the Section 2A was put into the Constitution.
That's right.
I'm talking about the last one.
And
the last one in 2002.
No one was free to do whatever they wanted to do.
Now, I'm talking about the one of 2000.
Now you are talking about the removal.
The removal of Section 2.
Of course, we had to be supportive. We had been agitating for it.
That's what he's saying.
That's what I'm saying.
But that
unless you want to be hard,
the credit of Moi, does it?
Yeah, to some
Moi was not agitating.
He's making his point, but
no, what I'm saying.
Let me just hold on, Honorable KOIGI. Let me go to the former provincial commissioner. I'll come back to you, Honorable Bet, in a while. But I want to go to the former provincial commissioner, and I want you to walk us through that structure called the provincial administration, because President Moi seemed to have used it very, very effectively.
First, let's remember that the country is mourning. That's why we have put flags at Hamask. And if you have any patriotism, when that flag is at Hamask, you try to come to that level. Two, we have a father, a leader, a parent who has passed on. Let's be a bit careful so that we don't cause more injury.
Right.
I first met Mzee Moi in 1967 as a student in Nyandarua High School. He was chairing Tifos High School, and as he was coming across near Nyandarua High School, we ran there and stopped him. I was a head boy. And he listened to me very carefully and he said, I'm going the evening to brief Mzee Jomo Kenyatta about your plight and possibly recommend that the minister comes to listen to you. Look at the faithfulness of Mzee Moi, the one, that first picture. And through, I took him as a person who was very, very loyal to his boss. Remember, you can trace that loyalty to his boss all through. Now, I joined the provincial administration, and the first time I met KOIGI here, he had just finished the university, and I was 2 years in administration.
Yeah,
up to 2 a.m. we were arguing, telling him that radical view that he holds, he would end up in trouble because I'm seeing no system can tolerate the way he was coming through.
Radicalized.
And I told you that I hoped the girl that was there will tone you down.
Which year was that?
This is 74. I saw it.
What was that you describe as radical? Is it?
You know, for him, he didn't have any qualms in the revolutions. And you know, the word revolution, when you are dealing with the members of the public, the minute you talk revolution, it can go in any way. We can spill a lot of blood. And I'm telling him,
I was not advocating.
I'm telling him as a DO, you got to keep a bit of a balance. But that one up to 2 a.m. But this is a different thing. But what he said that the two divides, these are political. I never joined the politics.
Yes.
But throughout, wherever I served, I was trying to balance the radicals from the moderates in the government all through. So look at me from that angle in this particular sitting. Now, you talk about the provincial administration.
Yes.
The provincial administration, it is not a British kind of culture of administration. It's French prefectorial system. French. That the prefect in charge you call it in Japan they will call it even French. In India they are still there. Canada they are still there. Tanzania here tried to change it. They came back. It is the executive arm of government in the field, those who stay with the people, and they are in between the uniformed and the civilian. They coordinate, they bring the various aspects of life of a people, and that's why they have those chiefs.
This is a lesson in civics, Bonapisi, and you definitely need some time and more time to explain that, which is why
you asked me to describe provincial administration.
Yes, and
now we come to the use.
No, hold on, because I'm going to give you the opportunity to execute that, because we have to take a break at this point and go to our bulletin. This conversation is going to come back shortly. We do have a panel, a very mixed panel, that is reviewing the legacy of the former president, the late Daniel Toroitich Arap Moi, who passed away this morning, the second president of the Republic. We do have KOIGI WAMWERE, Njeru Kathangu, Joseph Kaguthi, Franklin Bett, and Julius Sunkuli in the panel. My name is Linus Kaikai. We shall be back.
Sote tuungane, umoja wetu ndio silaha, ukabila